Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth in the series of the Wanger-Williams Salon Concerts. Today, we're featuring Ragtime. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the Stanford Club of Chicago and thank them so much for their participation and support. With me, as always, is my co-host, Nora Williams.
Hello, everyone. You forgot to introduce yourself, Eric.
My name is Eric Wanger, and I'm half of Wanger-Williams. You can guess which half. This is the fourth in a series of salon concerts we've been doing for about a year. The first one we did live, the second one we did in the midst of the early COVID, so it was hybrid. And then we went to a Zoom format. This is our last, hopefully this will be our last in the Zoom format. Although I have to say it's been a lot of fun producing videos and, but we're all dying to go back to hearing live music. And the whole point of this originally was to get everybody together to celebrate live music, close up and personal with the musicians and the composers. With no further ado, let me turn things over to Nora.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Nora Williams, and we are so grateful that you're here today to celebrate Ragtime with us. So every time that we do one of these salon concerts, we have picked interesting kinds of themes. And Eric suggested Ragtime. I'm like, gosh, Ragtime, I don't know much about it. And turns out it's rather a piano-centric form. And as a Stanford grad, and I was a music major, I never had any part of Ragtime history in my music courses, either there or in grad school. And come to find out, which Eric was a big education for me, to realize this is really one of the earliest Black forms of African-American forms of classical music. And ragtime is through composed. It gets its name from ragged, which means syncopated rhythm. So to me, it was always this optimistic, upbeat really kind of fun music to move around to. And I loved it growing up, listening to my piano friends play The Entertainer. It took me a while to realize that Scott Joplin was actually Black. And I come from an interracial family, my mom white, my dad Black, and a very pretty musical household. So I kind of should have realized that, but I never did. And so this is one of the things that we talked about as we were constructing this concert, is that so many different parts of our history as Americans have been kind of overshadowed or subdued or forgotten about. And one of the highlights we want to bring to this concert is one of the incredible contribution of Black Americans to our cultural scene. And this genre is beautiful. Not only happened from in the 1890s about to 1920, and then kind of jazz took over, but ragtime is not an improvised form. It is completely through composed, extremely elegant, and born in Missouri. So Eric, do you want to say a few more words about what ragtime is to you?
Well, sure. I mean, it's also fun because ragtime is a Midwestern art form. It was, back when St. Louis was the gateway to the American West, and the Mississippi River was, the biggest thing in transportation and goods and commerce, in the late 19th century. Right after the Civil War, people like Scott Joplin were born in the South. They came up to St. Louis, and you had guys with names like Tom Turpin and Scott Joplin and a whole host of others. And they took Black music, African-American music that had been played for a long time, but it really started getting published. And believe it or not, it got a huge boost. One of the things that put ragtime on the map was the Columbian Exhibition, the Chicago World's Fair of 1893. Almost 30 million people heard ragtime essentially for the first time. And it became published, and Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag was published in 1899, sold 1 million copies in published form. And I mean, it was just really kind of a new thing. And if you think of in one way to think about it is it was the first African-American form that took over America. After that, there was also blues, there was also jazz, there was also rap, but this was the first. So it's a really, really interesting thing. It's also completely uniquely American. And European composers, by the way, started imitating it almost immediately. Believe it or not, Claude Debussy imitated it. and Eric Satie imitated it, and Stravinsky, this just composers were composing ragtime. It took over the world. I don't want to talk too much. Is there anything else you want to say, or should we get to the music?
I think the only other thing I want to say is that because this is co-sponsored by the Stanford Club of Chicago, one of the cool things that we noticed kind of an integration is that Stanford was just coming into being in 1891, which is right at the beginning of ragtime. And Stanford was, even from the beginning, not as populated with ethnic diversity, but there was one Black member of that very first graduating class, which I put in the slideshow. So I thought that was a kind of a fun thing. And the next little teeny note that I didn't know is that June is actually Black music, American Black Music Appreciation Month. So we are right on target. So let's take it away with the first video.
Sounds good. I also want to do a shout out to Thomas Gilson, who performs today. And I'm going to play the first piece of music, and then we'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself. But with no further ado, let me figure out how to share my screen, and we will play the first piece of music. Oh, I should introduce it. This is actually an original by me. It's called the Prog Rag. I wrote it actually last year, just recorded it. The Prog Rag, if you're familiar with prog rock, bands like King Crimson or Genesis or Yes or Rush or bands like that, it's been defined as kind of rock music for geeks. It's rock music, but it's technical and a little bit jagged and artsy and maybe even pseudo-intellectual in kind of a funny way. So I wrote a Prog Rag. So, please enjoy. The musicians in this rag, by the way, I'd like to thank you, Ryan Bisson, for playing the bass trombone tuba part. We also have a guest appearance by Eric Schneider, who might be familiar with some of you in the Chicago jazz scene. Eric is actually a Grammy Award-winning saxophone and clarinet player and flute player, and he was gracious enough to record the clarinet part. So let me crank up the Prog Rag by myself, Eric Wanger. Are you beautiful?
Yeah, oh, beautiful. Oh, look at that.
Whole thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Eric. And you know what? That was a great way to get us started. And one of the things I just wanted to add here, because I think our next little thing is adds a little humor to the match, because as we all know, this has been a long, long year and a half, and till we can all be back together, it's been tough. So humor has been a good way to dispel like the pressure cooker. So Eric, what do we have next?
Well, Tom Gilson and I, Tom, is your mic on? Tom Gilson and I met in the 4th grade, and about then we discovered the Maple Leaf Rag. And Tom was always jealous because I was always better at it than he was. Well, that's a lie, actually. That's a complete lie, but it feels good to say it. Anyway, so Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about the Maple Leaf Rag, especially with your inability to play it as well as me?
Sure. As I recall, we were in 4th grade around the same time that the movie The Sting came out. And of course, Scott Joplin's music was featured in that movie, and mostly in orchestrations, I think, by Marvin Hamlish. So I think Eric and I were both listening to a lot of ragtime around that time. And one of my favorite albums was the New England Conservatory Ragtime Ensemble, led by Gunther Schuller. I was thinking about that this morning, and the name just popped into my head, but great orchestrations of the piano music. And I think that was really what kind of drew us into the music at that time. And, it's really a great American music form, and I've enjoyed playing it. And I enjoyed playing the Maple Leaf Rag. As a side note, though, my piano teacher from those early days was a little old lady who had the great name Miss Hurd, and she hated the Maple Leaf Rag, and she thought it was I don't know, low-class music or something like that, and refused to teach it to me. So I had to kind of learn it on my own. Just one other thing that am remembering about working on not only the Maple Leaf Rag, but some other ragtime pieces by Scott Joplin. There's some great performance direction in those pieces. And I remember one of the rags, I think it's Easy Winners, but I could be wrong about that. But there's a kind of a middle section where the performer writes "stomp time," and then there's a little note that says the performer during this piece is instructed to raise his foot off of a few inches off of the floor and stomp on the beat while you're playing, which I loved, and I enjoyed doing that every time I played it. And I tried to stomp as loudly as possible. and I think Scott Joplin would have approved. We know also that Scott Joplin he provided performance instruction for, I think it appeared in a lot of his rags, but he said something like, ragtime is never to be played fast. So he was very emphatic about that and repeated it often. And so I think it's safe to say that Scott Joplin would not be happy with what Eric and I did to his piece that you'll hear today.
Fair enough. Now, before you think that Tom and I are actually friends, I think there's something you better see.
Eric Wanger, yeah, I know that guy. He's a good piano player and a good composer. But when it comes to the Maple Leaf Rag, he is out of his league. Eric, you're going to regret participating in this epic battle. You are about to get pwned.
You want to play the Maple Leaf Rag, Tom Gilson? Juilliard Gilson is going down. I will play the Maple Leaf Rag with you. 2 of us walk in. 1 of us is walking away. The Maple Leaf Rag is coming to get you, Juilliard Gilson.
So that's coming later. But before then, we have something a little more graceful. And this is a modern rag that I found a living composer, William Bolcom, who is also Midwesterner and wrote this beautiful rag for his dad after he passed away. And his dad loved to dance. And he's Pulitzer Prize winning composer. I played his opera McTeague when I was in grad school, set in San Francisco. And we had fun with this one because we had some costumes.
We had costumes. Would you like me to roll it? Okay, Graceful Ghost by William Bolcom, 1979.
That was a fun one. I demanded costumes for that because I'm really tired of virtual shows, everybody, I gotta tell you. But I love being with you all, and I love like how we have to be more creative to stay more connected and keep up the good energy.
That's right. Too many Zoom concerts, too many Zoom meetings. So we thought we should have some fun today.
We have a great number up next, though.
We have a great number of next, and there's no reason for me to introduce it because this next number is actually introduced by my daughter, Rebecca Wanger, who just graduated from high school and is actually rather accomplished percussionist. And I'll let her introduce herself.
My name is Rebecca Wanger. I am a percussionist and senior with the Latin School Wind Ensemble. The next performance you will hear is a piece called Ragtime Robin by George Hamilton Green. George Hamilton Green was a composer, cartoonist, and xylophonist from Omaha, Nebraska. His piece, Ragtime Robin, is a xylophone solo played by me with a piano accompaniment played by my father, Eric Wanger. Eric Wanger, my father, is a pianist, flautist, composer, and amazing dad. We hope you enjoy the performance.
1, 2, 3, 4.
better than keeping music all in the family, right? Because like every generation can play music, and you know, it kind of like can cut down the tension. You know, when you go head to head, it's like, hey, let's play a song together, right, Eric?
I know, we weren't fighting. If you noticed, that was the longest time back then. I have never argued. No. Rebecca's terrific. Really so impressive. And I'd also like to thank her mallets teacher, Aldo Mazzati, who, as you know, has performed with Nora and I multiple times. And I think Aldo's on the call, and I think he's waving to us. Thank you, Aldo. You've done a great job.
Yeah, awesome, Aldo.
Thank you.
Well, great. So this next one that's coming up, you know, as we talk about getting along, right? This whole pandemic, we've seen the times out in culture at large where we're not getting along, when things aren't working. And one of the things, Eric comes out of the Jewish lineage, and in that lineage, as with the African American lineage, there's a lot of trauma back going centuries, millennia. And I know that I feel so strongly, and I think Eric does too, that the arts are a way to start to heal that trauma so that we can move forward into our creative capacities and ability to connect and really, truly love one another. And so we have this next piece, which called Hebrew Melodies, which I love. I somehow always resonate with so many of the Jewish composers, especially in the late 19th century. They're just so soulful, wouldn't you say, Eric?
Yeah, and this one's fascinating because this is actually a version of a piece that I guess was written in the early 19th century, but this is a version by Joseph Joachim, who's was a contemporary of Brahms. He wrote this in the 1890s, really to feature himself on the viola. He's a tremendous viola player. But you know, Byron wrote these famous poems and the Hebrew Melodies based on the words of Byron. And I'd never heard of this piece. I knew nothing about this piece till Nora introduced it to me. And she just plays it so well. I mean, Nora, you knocked my socks off the way you play this. Really nice job. That's a tremendous piece of music.
It is beautiful. It's very romantic, very beautiful. Very beautiful. And that was composed before ragtime came into being, but it's something we liked.
Well, not very much. I mean, that's from the 1890s, and
Well,
ragtime was
yeah.
really just getting going about then.
Okay, so
Well, you want to? Okay, well, why don't I introduce the next one?
yeah, because I mean the cool thing about our series is we have a resident composer who is Eric, which is like that's a bonus to have a composer and a pianist, available, because that is a whole different set of talents from being just a player. So you want to say a few words about being a composer versus player?
Well, and actually on the next one, you're going to hear why I'm a composer, not a player. But this is actually the first piece of ragtime I ever wrote, and I actually wrote this during college. I wrote this in 1984, actually, while I was on a study abroad program in Italy. I performed it for the first time in actually at Nora in my first salon concert at the end of 2019. And I was shy, I was nervous, and true confession, I think you might see it's a hard piece of music, so don't judge. I did my best. This is called Tag's Rag. I wrote this one in 1984. Enjoy.
Right on. That was a fun one.
To all you composers out there, though, you don't necessarily have to write music that's too hard to play. So just that's one of the things I learned. If I'm writing it, I don't necessarily have to make it that hard. Yeah, but that was a fun one. So usually in the spirit of the Salon Concert, we always like to open it up for questions. We've got one more number to do, and then I'll ask Nora to say a few words, and then we'll open it up to everybody for a discussion. We'll unmute everybody. Is there anything you'd like to say, Nora, before our last one?
No, but this is going to put some fun. We're going to go out with a little bang here.
This is for all those people. This is all those people who have been to one too many Zoom concerts or one too many Zoom conferences.
Does Tom want to say anything before?
Yeah, Tom Gilson, you want to try
one?
to defend your honor before we start this one? Anyway, once again, thank you all for joining us so much. It's a privilege to get to do this. We have a lot of fun. We do a lot of work. Shout out again. Thank you so much to the Stanford Club for co-sponsoring us, to Eric Schneider, to Ryan, once again, to Rebecca, to Aldo, Tom Gilson, everybody who makes these possible, to Mona, who puts up with me and all the late hours and all the nonsense. So anyway, with no further ado, I give you our last number, the piano battle, the earth-shattering, epic-defining, genre-defining, terrifying, universally horrific, to the death, mano-a-mano competition between Tom Gilson and Eric Wanger in the most dangerous forum known to the Homo sapien species. A direct head-to-head, toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano battle playing the Maple Leaf Rag, written by Scott Joplin in 1899.
Gilson, the Maple Leaf Rag is coming for you.
I'm coming for you, Wanger. Coming for you.
Round one, fight! Round two, fight! Final round. Fight! Finish him! Finish him!
Oh,
Flawless victory. Well
so
There you have
clearly
that.
you guys had some fun pulling that one off. Oh boy. So Tom, that was great. You got to come back. You got to unmute yourself, Tom. Say a few words on your experience on recording that one.
Yeah, that was extremely silly, but we had fun. One thing we tried was that I think thankfully ended up on the cutting room floor when Eric was here in Phoenix, where I am. We were basically alternating measures where I was playing and then he was playing, and then we were like running around the piano bench. It was like completely absurd and sounded horrible. So
I have a video
I'm
of it.
glad none of that was being shown today. But anyway, it was a lot of fun and insane. And like that last page is crazy. And, you know, I think it was basically, you know, a photo finish, but it was fun.
Well, it was photographed.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, we've opened up everybody's mic so everybody can participate and talk. Nora, you want to have the last word? Say it for me.
I just want to say that it's good to laugh. The one thing about the pandemic that I noticed, not being around actual people, was that my laughter quotient was really down low. Because like laughter, it works so much better when we're in the same room. So it has to something with the energy or the frequency or the vibration or something. But anyway, a chuckle is good too. So is there anyone out there that wants to like ask a question or make a comment about anything today?
Yeah, all you have to do is unmute yourself. And,
Yeah. Aldo,
go ahead.
Mazzotti, you want to say something?
Eric, do you want to say something about the musical references in your tags rag?
Oh, yeah, well, there are a few Easter eggs in there, actually. Nora, can you make sure also that people are able to unmute themselves? But if you were listening closely in Tags Rag, first of all, there was the theme from the Brady Bunch. There was the music from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was the bugle song from Horse Races. And I believe there was a Nutria East High School fight song.
Very cool.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I know we have some other musicians on this call. Any of the
Yeah,
musicians?
anybody who wants to, just speak up, speak up.
I want to see a rematch.
He got me. He beat me fair and square.
Yeah, that one uppercut, he got you on the uppercut and across left and poof. But you fought back pretty good. You had a lot of heart.
You got a lot of heart. Thank you. Yeah.
Heart and soul. And we'll have to do that song next time.
That's right.
Yeah, That is the key, putting your heart into it and your mind too. Any other comments from the pianists out there? Kevin Pritchett, you want to say a word or two about how you feel about ragtime? Kev on, who's a Cal weenie, by the way. Sorry for the spoiler alert, Eric, but another one of your lawyer friends from Cal.
And a Berkeley grad at that, so that makes it even worse. Thank you very much for that beautiful ragtime. I got used to hearing it so fast, and I just had in my mind that it was incomprehensible and very, very difficult. When you all played it at, I guess, the tempo that Scott Joplin intended it to be played, it's very accessible. It's kind of an early stride type technique on the left, but it's really rhythmic, very melodic, and not at all out of the realm. So thank you for that. That was a nice gift. And I loved your composition on that rag. It was so whimsical and kind of just naughty and really wonderful. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I'm sure that if you sweet talk Eric, he'll give you the music.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, we named this program The Elegance of Ragtime because one of the things that people don't understand is ragtime, it wasn't written for the dance hall. Ragtime was written to be listened to. And, it came out of cakewalks and folk music. And, but African Americans weren't allowed in the concert hall. And this was classy music, and it wasn't played in necessarily very classy places, or on very classy instruments. But this was elegant music to be listened to. And Scott Joplin was a serious American composer by any measure. He wrote operas. The guy should be taken quite seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot on this one. And, we found some really cool music. I mean, that's the thing when you do a theme is you find things that you never would expect. So that is definitely great. So if there's any other comments, we're going to take it out. I'm going to return back to that slideshow that I put together for this as we're departing, just to keep you in the mood and keep your foot tapping. And hopefully some of those melodies are going to continue rolling around in your ears. And I'm sure we'll have a recording of this show. Eric, our tech meister, will make sure of that, and that you will have access to as well. So any final words, Eric?
Well, by the way, somebody in the chat room just wrote more cowbell, and I just appreciate that very much. So thank you for that one. No, thank you all for coming. We'll put it up on YouTube, so it's available. And once again, thank you so much for supporting us, and just look forward to doing this again in the future.
Yeah, thanks to the Stanford Club. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone, Rebecca, who participated. And we will see you on the next go-round.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.